You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios, man. We got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And, oh, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Thursday, which we've been dabbling with the idea of making this T-Bone Thursday. Now, we have a sound effect. So I think maybe JP had too much time on his hands. And he's made us a sound effect. JP?
I want reviews from the listeners.
We'll get reviews from the listeners. Let's play the proposed sound effect for a proposed T-Bone Thursday. Hit it.
T-bone steak.
For lunch?
Well, I am just a T-bone kind of guy.
Well, then we should call you T-Bone.
No, we shouldn't.
T-Bone!
T-bone! T-bone! T-bone! T-bone!
Okay.
I already know one person's not going to like that.
I know. John from Huntsville's already just having a come apart right now because of this. All right, text us in. Tell us what you think. Is it T-Bone Thursday? Tell me. We can even modify the sound effect, but I do love that particular.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
That's pretty good. All right, hey, we got a whole lot going. By the way, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm enjoying this spring day again.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
You didn't play golf while I wasn't watching today.
No, I did not, even though I was tempted.
Okay. 3 o'clock today. Hey, listen, we got a coup here. This is a major get. She's making the rounds on all the national platforms, but it turns out that I had a mutual connection. Yesterday, if you were listening to the tail end of the show, I went on a bit of a rant about what is going on with a Republican state representative in Maine named Laurel Libby. So Laurel Libby has taken a stand against transgenders in sports, ruining things for young lady athletes. And she took a stand and got punished for it. Literally got punished for it by the Maine House. And so we're saying right now that Laurel Libby's fight is our fight. And guess what? Laurel Libby from Maine is going to be on the show at 3 o'clock. So stand by for that. Should be a great interview. I look forward to hearing from her. But yeah, Maine Representative Laurel Libby on the phone at 3 o'clock. And then 3:30, you know the deal. It's T-Bone Thursday, allegedly. So we always have Butters and Lee. So Butters and Lee coming up at 3:30. We'll have them on the air. And then I got a triple dipper just filled up with stuff. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. The first one is about that call we're going to have at 3 o'clock. I'm calling this whole dipper, Libby's fight is our fight, because it is. What she's doing up there right now in Maine is absolutely what we need more of around the nation. Libby's fight is our fight, and I'll talk to you more about that as I unpack it for you and then get her on the phone with us at 3 o'clock. Number 2 on the Triple Dipper, military-minded. We're going to continue to track what is happening with our U.S. military. You know this show, man. You know my background. The military has been a huge part of my life. It's been all in JP's family's life. I'm just saying we're gonna keep track of all this stuff. And right now I'm being military minded. I got some updates for you that you're gonna want to hear. And then number 3, I wrestled with what to call this, and I finally just called it social repair work, because that's what's happening. There are some things happening around our region, our state, and in the nation as a whole that in my opinion are sort of repairing things that have been broken in our social structure, our social fabric, our very culture. It's social repair work, and that's number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, well, let me jump on into the Rightside Way opening monologue. And I'll remind you guys that the monologue every single day is brought to you by attorney Stan McDonald. Stan McDonald, partner at the law firm of Wilmer & Lee, 30-year veteran in the practice of law. I will tell you more about Stan here momentarily, but yes, he is the sponsor of the Rightside Way. Okay, let me start by saying this. There's a line in a movie. It's the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I know most of y'all have seen it. And I've always liked this one line. I actually wrote it down in a notebook that I've got full of quotes. It's a scene where Captain Jack Sparrow and Will Turner are using an upside-down rowboat to walk under the water to steal a ship. And Will says to Jack, "This is either madness or brilliance." To which Jack responds, It's amazing how often those attributes come together. It's a great line, and it's also true. I mean, sometimes the craziest ideas are the best ideas. They're audacious, they're pugnacious, they're contumacious, but they're brilliant. It's about defying the norms, right? It's about breaking the status quo. And that's what we're watching right now as Trump has hired Musk to be an outside consultant, but granted him authority to dig, to turn over every rock, to find things that have been hidden. It's crazy and it's brilliant all at the same time. I was reminded of that attitude this morning as I came across a story I'd forgotten about. It's a story about some absolutely bananas behavior. In a minute, I'm going to have JP put a picture up on the screen for you so you can see a little bit of it. But there's something that's so maddeningly risky and outright crazy that very few people ever thought that it would work. But it worked. It was designed to save lives. And it happened back in 1960 when a man in a balloon parachuted from outer space. Kid you not. The U.S. was in the space race, but we were also in the race to the outer edges of the atmosphere for military purposes as well. Experimental aircraft that could fly at the outside of the atmosphere, break the sound barrier. And there were wild stories being told about people like Chuck Yeager, who did amazing things, flying by the seat of his pants as a test pilot. But as the late 50s came around, the research was still unavailable about what would happen if one of those high-flying planes up at the upper reaches of the atmosphere met some kind of in-flight disaster at the edge of space. So, the Air Force launched what was called Project Excelsior in 1959. To determine whether or not a manned flight could break up at high pressure altitude and the pilot still safely eject. And one guy that was tapped to do the test was Air Force pilot Captain Joseph Kittinger. His first major jump was from 76,400 feet. Y'all, that is 14 miles straight up. And by the way, it did not go well. He barely survived when his chute malfunctioned. The shroud lines, they wrapped around his neck. He went into an uncontrollable spin at 22 times the force of gravity. He was knocked unconscious, but his reserve chute automatically deployed eventually and saved his life. They asked him if he would jump again. Madness. Brilliance. He said yes. Now, I don't know that there was ever a doubt, really, because it was about something bigger than him. It was about the safety of extreme flight pilots. And the brilliant idea had to be accompanied by some absolute insanity to make it work. Go ahead and put the picture up if you don't mind, JP. I can tell you as a former Army paratrooper that my dozens of jumps, they were all static line from 1,200 feet above ground level or less. Generally, you spent less than a minute in the air. And when you exited the aircraft like I did, you could see the ground. You could see the people on the ground. You could see the obstacles you had to avoid. But when Joseph Kittinger jumped, he could see the curvature of the earth. And yes, he went back up 2 more times, and on August 16th, 1960, United States Air Force Captain Joseph Kittinger launched in a massive balloon, and he ascended above New Mexico in an open gondola suspended from basically a basic helium balloon. And on the step-off point at the door of the gondola, some joker had put a sign that read, "This is the highest step in the world." Kittinger was just 32 years old, and he wore a fully pressurized suit, much like an astronaut, because without it, the extreme altitude would have caused his body fluids to boil. And when he was 19 miles above the earth, y'all, that's 102,800 feet, Kittinger jumped. And he went into an immediate uncontrolled descent, falling at speeds exceeding 600 miles an hour. The free fall lasted over 4.5 minutes, but he remained conscious, and at 14,000 feet, Kittinger pulled the ripcord of his parachute, and he safely landed. Holy cow. It was madness and brilliance all at the same time. Kittinger broke 2 world records that day, the highest ever parachute jump and the longest free fall. 2 weeks later, the image of Kittinger falling through the sea of white clouds appeared on the front page of Life magazine. But the public didn't really get all the details of the record-setting jump for quite a while. But it was crazy. It was madness. And it was also brilliance. And it was done for the sake of solving a real-world military problem. Look, you can look back at some of the greatest innovations of history, and you can find that they were deemed mad when they were first proposed. You can find stories like Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring revolutionizing the world of media and building Daily Wire in their garage. 2 guys who had an idea that had no predecessor. They saw a way to communicate conservative views to the world using the internet and social media and radio all combined, and they were fired by their boss for dreaming it up. So they went out on their own, and 8 years later, Daily Wire is the largest non-traditional media company in the world with annual revenues over $200 million. That was crazy. That was madness. That was brilliant, and it worked, and the world will never be the same. There was a time when the New York Times announced to the world that the automobile was impractical. It was a fad, they said. There was no way to achieve an inexpensive means of putting automobiles in the hands of the average consumer, they said. The price of cars to the New York Times back in 1902 was such that they were an unattainable thing and would always be so. They were narrow-minded. They didn't see the madness and the brilliance of Henry Ford, who invented the mass production assembly line. The price came down and the automobile became part of the world's normal everyday behavior, and most folks, they can't imagine not having one. Look, I'm telling you all those stories about Captain Kittinger and about the guys at Daily Wire and about Henry Ford, and I could tell you a bunch more. I'm feeling like a bunch of you sat up straight in your chair to listen. Some of you caught your breath and thought, no way would I do that. Movies and books and magazine articles have been made about each one of them, and I could find you a dozen more. Great stories about heroic efforts, stories that inspire, true stories about someone doing something that was absolute madness and brilliance all at once. And here's the thing. Take that sense of wonder that we have and the expectation that what was madness became brilliance, and turn that into the effort that we're watching right now on fixing our government. Because what we're watching right now with the advent of DOGE and the executive orders from Trump and the release of previously withheld information, the setting free of political prisoners, the termination of bad actors in the government, the revoking of clearances for former intelligence officials who covered things up, and the investigation of the awful withdrawal from Afghanistan that was just announced, and the cutting of wasteful spending on frivolous projects, and the restoring of destroyed areas of North Carolina, the demand for accountability on the war in Ukraine, the end of DEI, the restoration of military readiness. Look, I could go on and on. You know I could. What we're watching right now is government being retooled at an absolutely breakneck pace, a pace no one thought was possible, a pace that anybody who you told them a year ago, they would have said you're crazy, and yet it's brilliance. The halls of House and Congress and every state house in America are also playing catch up to the day-to-day running of the writing of the American ship of state. It is madness and it is brilliance all at one time, and I suspect we're going to see more. Here's the bottom line. I don't want a government that settles for status quo. This is the nation that won the space race. We invented atomic energy. We invented manned spaceflight. We survived our own civil war, established the world premier civil rights. We have solved problems in our history that most people thought were unsolvable. It was crazy to try, but we did it. Because as a people, as a culture, we're mavericks. We see problems and we know the solution is going to take madness and brilliance, and we love that. This is the by God United States of America, where we break the norms, tear down the walls, and run through obstacles just because we can. And the only way to keep that brilliant craziness going is to take the leap off the highest steps in the world. And that means not being bloated or fat or slow or belligerent. It means being lean and hungry for more. So yes, I am loving the changes that I see right now in our government. I think it's madness and I think it's brilliance all at the same time. It's amazing how often those attributes come together. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. There you have it. And yes, that story, I hope you saw the picture that was put up on the screen, but that story about Captain Kittinger, my gosh, that just inspired me to think about the fact that this is America. We just do stuff, man. We do stuff the rest of the world looks at us and thinks we're crazy, and then it works, and they're like, well, that was brilliant. Yep. Madness and brilliance all at one time. Amazing how often those attributes come together. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. All right. I'll get some text messages. Text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Text her to call it. And apparently that one struck a nerve because we were blowing up. That and the T-Bone. T-Bone got some activity.
It did. We got a couple good reviews in.
I'll tell you real quick before I do that, though, attorney Stan McDonald. I mentioned him a minute ago. He is the sponsor daily of the Rightside Way monologue. Stan McDonald, he's a partner at the law firm of Wilmer & Lee. He's a 30-year veteran in the practice of law in North Alabama. Y'all, listen, I know Stan personally. We were actually communicating yesterday, and I'm going to probably see him next week. But Stan McDonald's the kind of guy who has been in the mix for years, fighting for the causes that ruffians care about. He's also, by the way, a great lawyer. Attorney Stan McDonald, he has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He can stand up for you in every local, state, and federal court. I like to say, as always, when Stan McDonald's on your side, you'll have no greater friend, and likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So here's the deal. I'm going to tell you how to get in touch with him. I'm going to give you his phone number. Stan McDonald, attorney at the law firm of Wilmer & Lee. He's an America First family man. Here's his phone number, 256-479-3020. That's 256-479-3020. And tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. I would appreciate that. And then the thing. No representation made of the quality of legal sources before is greater than the quality of legal sources before with other lawyers. Shazam!
Shazam was part of the script.
It was. That's what you have to say. It's part of the disclaimer. You have to always say Shazam. Jeremy from Madison checked in and says, great monologue. He also said that T-Bone was lame.
Hey, you know what?
Wow.
I appreciate the honesty there.
So I got props and you got lame.
Yeah. Well, I think he was the only one that didn't like it on the review.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Tom from Huntsville just says T-Bone, T-Bone, T-Bone with a bunch of laughing emojis. Jeff from Indiana says, Phil, I vote for thumping Thursday because Friday don't hurry up and get here. Someone's going to get a thumping. Okay. Bobby from Huntsville says, works out good. I believe a little butter on a T-bone is good stuff. You know what? Yes, it is. In fact, it's funny. The first time I went to a great steak place and got my beautiful steak back and it had a wad of butter on top of it, I thought, what have they done? And afterwards I thought, what have I done by not doing this sooner?
I don't think butter makes any food worse.
That's true.
To say that.
Yeah. Butter, steak. Mm-hmm. All you need is bacon. You're done, right?
Yeah.
All the food groups.
And then your cardiologist will have a heart attack
Whoop,
himself.
Whoop. Ken from Harvard says Representative Libby ought to run for governor in Maine. Phew, I'm sure people are talking to her. Michael from Madison says T-Bone Thursday is good to me, but a George Costanza clip seals it for me. There you go.
I concur.
There you go. JT Lacey Springs says, as the one who suggested Turbo Thursday in February of 2024, I contest the change to T-Bone. However, he says, if the ruffians choose otherwise, I shall relent. And then he said, I watched the 100,000-foot jump. Breathtaking. JT, if you watched it in person, I want to know, man. I've seen the video, but if you were in some way involved or watching it, I'd like to know more. I got more text messages. I got more stuff. We got the first dipper, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I am talking about this show. Goes like from Huntsville all the way back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about all the way down to that prettiest little town on the plains called Auburn. And yes, there are big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. All right, so we're going to go to our first dipper here momentarily. I will get some more text messages so I can stay caught up. Shane from Lacey Springs is asking about live streaming. You already saw that. You answered to him, and yes.
And he commented on the live stream, so I see that on the Rumble live stream, so he found it.
Hey, Shane. But yeah, so we are live streaming, by the way. You can catch us on Rumble, on YouTube, on our website, rightsidemedia.org, all that stuff. So thank you very much, Shane, for dialing in. John from Huntsville says, Phil, spectacular monologue. Also, did you see the sad news that movie star Gene Hackman, his wife and dog were all found dead in their house? Yes, I did. I've heard some people say it might have been carbon monoxide poisoning. Yeah, I think they're looking at that. They're looking at gas leaks. They're looking even at whether or not there was, maybe one passed away and the other one took some pills because they apparently found pills. There's all kinds of stories, but nobody knows. All I know is this. Gene Hackman was one of my favorite actors of all time. That guy was an epic actor. And if you've ever seen the movie Crimson Tide with him and Denzel Washington, that is two of the finest character actors I have ever seen going at it toe-to-toe convincingly. And they're good when they not only engage you in their character, but on the one hand, they can play a character you really like, and the next movie they can play a character that's so nasty that you just soon punch him in the mouth as talk to him. That's how good an actor they were. Like when Denzel did Training Day, I didn't even like him for a while after that movie. It was awful because his character was so spitefully awful. And then he turns around and does the Book of Eli or, something that you go, yeah, there he is.
Gene Hackman was in one of, if not the greatest sports movie of all time, of Hoosiers.
Hoosiers.
Seen a lot of great Hoosiers clips today.
And The Replacements.
I haven't seen that one, though.
You haven't seen The Replacements with Keanu Reeves? The whole premise of it being that the NFL goes on strike, so all the team owners decide to hire scabs.
Huh.
And Keanu Reeves plays a washed-out quarterback who had his day, but they brought him back in, and the coach was Gene Hackman.
Huh.
And there's this one scene where they're in the huddle, and the team's finally coming together, a bunch of misfits trying to make it was the Bad News Bears of football. And hilarious movie. And at one point, he says, he looks at him, he goes, "Chicks dig scars," and just basically said, "Glory lasts forever." And he calls the play, and they go out and run it. But anyway, check it out, Gene Hackman, The Replacements. You'd like it, it's a sports movie.
Yeah, of course.
Joanna from Hartselle says, "Your monologue had me smiling from ear to ear. America, U.S. Thank you very much." Said it's so great to actually feel proud to be an American again. Yes, it really is. Brian S. from Huntsville says, "I love T-Bone. I like the T-Bone clip, but it's hard for me to agree with something that's going to replace something from Back to the Future." That's true. We had Turbo Thursday, had the Back to the Future sound effect. Can you combine it? Can we have Turbo T-Bones?
We can do whatever we want. This is our show.
This is our show. Tony from Franklin, Tennessee says, "Two-Ton Tony says, T-Bone, baby." Well, you know what? If your name is Two-Tone Tony, you deserve a T-Bone. And then Cousin Crystal checking in from Moulton says, "I say triumph Thursday because we got Trump, Tom Homan, and God is still on the throne." There you go. By the way, JT Lacey Springs, I asked him if he was there for that parachute jump. He says he wasn't. He saw it broadcast. Still, that's 102,000 feet. Listen, I got the jitters jumping at 1,100 AGL, and hoping my static line was all good.
I was going to say, as someone who's scared of heights, just that picture freaked me out.
Yeah, I mean, when you can see the curvature of the Earth and you're stepping off into the void, I mean, he's high enough to where he's not in the outer atmosphere to the point that there's going to be weightlessness and he might go up instead of down. But still, you look at it and go, my gosh, you have to wear an oxygen tank to jump. Of course, they do our oxygen tanks to jump like at 5,000 feet, but even still. Thomas from Athens, last one, he says, "I propose Thirsty Thursday because many folks are thirsty for Friday, a date night with their life partner and a b-ball game on Saturday, and then football games after Labor Day." Wow, Thomas, you got your life planned out, brother. All right, look, we're going to jump into the topic here. So coming up top of the hour, I've got a guest coming on. I hope you heard the end of the show yesterday, but just in case you didn't, I'm going to refresh you. If you recall, last week, was it last week? Yeah, it was last Thursday or Friday, I believe it was. Trump was holding a meeting with governors from around the nation. They're not all there because they love Trump. They're there because he's having a meeting with governors. One of those was the governor of Maine. And the governor of Maine, at some point, Trump actually called her out. He was talking about transgenders in sports and how his executive order said, don't do it, no mo. And then he said, in fact, is Maine here? And she was. What's her name? Janice Wills? What's the governor of Maine, real quick? Tell me that. But the governor was sitting in the room, and she goes, I'm here. And he said, you need to change those policies or you're not getting any funding. She goes, I'll see you in court. And he goes, yes, you will. And it'll be an easy one. What's her name?
Janet Mills.
Janet Mills. So Governor Janet Mills was, then a video broke the next day of her dancing at a drag show where children are present. So you know what her agenda is. Well, let's go ahead and add fuel to the fire. What happened in the state house in Maine, the same state from which Janet Mills proudly says she's going to maintain her transgenders in sports our policies and DEI and all of it. What happened next was a state House of Representatives member, Representative Laurel Libby. Laurel Libby's a Republican. And Laurel Libby was incensed when she saw a post about a transgender high school athlete, a dude, winning a track and field meet, I think in the pole vault, against females, and proudly standing on the dais to receive the medal while the females got lesser awards.
Set a record, by the way.
Oh, and set a record. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, of course he did. Mm-hmm. And Laurel Libby posted a picture on her social media and called the situation out and said that this should not be allowed to happen, and she was sticking up for females in sports. And the libs in Maine went bananas. Now, are there liberal politics in Maine? Yes, but understand this: it's almost a purple state, really. They weren't too far away from having a Republican majority in their House. On a vote of 75 to 70, after debating Representative Libby for quite a while, with Republicans getting her back, the state house censured her. And there's a video of her having to go up and stand in front of the dais, like literally stand there while he looks down on her. It's like a tribunal moment. And the Speaker of the House looks down on her and says that she is being censured for her behavior and she has to publicly apologize or she will not be allowed to speak or vote on the House floor until she does. Y'all, she's a duly elected representative of the people and she can't cast a vote on their behalf because of a Facebook post? Are you kidding me with this? Well, listen, let's take a minute. I want to play a clip here. This is an audio clip of a young lady, a female athlete, speaking to a school board and asking them to please, this is in Maine, please change these policies because of what you're doing. This is a little bit long, but we're going to play the whole thing. Go ahead and play it.
Hello, my name is Julia Dietrich. I'm from Bristol, Maine. I'm a junior at another Midcoast high school. And even though I'm not a student at Freeport High School, I would like to show my support for a team that rightfully earned its place in competition, only to have that opportunity taken away by an unfair policy that ignores the integrity of women's sports. Enough is enough. It is time for female athletes across Maine to take a stand against the Maine Principals Association and the governor's policies that are failing us. We have trained, we have sacrificed, we have played by the rules, yet we are being forced to watch as the rights and opportunities of female athletes are stripped away. If those in power refuse to protect fairness in women's sports, then we must make them understand the consequences of their decisions in the only way they seem to understand, through time, resources, money, and undeniable public pressure. For the past 3 years, I have competed in congressional debate, which is another organization governed by the MPA. Even in debate, there's a culture in the state of Maine that is anti-woman, and our own state judges making comments such as, "Your voice is too feminine. You would never be taken seriously if you continue to hold yourself that way. Your views are unreasonable. The fight is not just about one team, one championship, or one season. This is about every girl in the state of Maine who has ever laced up her shoes.
All right, pause it a second. I want you to catch what she just said. She's a debate team member, and she goes to competitions and has the judges tell her she's too feminine, that her voice is too feminine. She'll never be taken seriously. This is the age in which, remember #MeToo? Why is that not sexual harassment? Why is that not discrimination? And yet it's okay right now. It's okay right now because the cult of transgenderism has infiltrated Maine to the point that they are willing to openly tell real females, you're just too feminine. You know what they really want? They want her to have a deeper voice because she's on some kind of hormone therapy. Play it some more.
Prepared for a tournament or poured her heart into a competition, believing that she had a fair shot. It is time to act. Empty scoreboards and unanswered whistles send a message loud enough to the MPA to the MPA, our schools, and the state that they cannot ignore it. I believe that the board should take a public stand against the MPA and the governor's position. We are not just athletes. We are not just students. We are not just parents. We are fighters. Let's keep women's sports for women. Thank you.
Wow, good for her. I mean, junior in high school, going and speaking to a bunch of liberal whack jobs who basically have the authority to make her life more difficult and to dare to support policies that because she's a female, she's going to have to play second fiddle to somebody who wants to be a female. And you listen to that, you think, how did we get here? Now that's Maine. You may look at that and go, Phil, that's Maine. That's not. We had to pass laws in Alabama to prevent more of that here. Don't think it wasn't here, because it was. And don't think it's still here. I mean, we're in the state right now where UAB was conducting gender, transition therapies and surgeries. UAB, right here in Alabama. We're the only state in the nation that I know of that actually has a school on using public dollars called the Magic City Acceptance Academy, which is a public school, a charter school in Birmingham that basically focuses on gender orientation before it focuses on education. And a whole school. And we just found out in the last week that the principal of the school had offered to pay for gender transition surgeries for minors while working on public dollars. Listen, I'm just telling you, it's not that far away. Are we talking about Maine right now? Yes, but I'm going to tell you right now, Laurel Libby's fight is our fight. Laurel Libby's fight is our fight. Now, right now, she's making the rounds. She's doing all the news stories. She's been on Fox and others, and she's agreed to squeeze some time in for us because we had a mutual connection. But I'm going to tell you, I look forward to have her on here a little bit. But this is our fight, y'all. All right, I'm going to tell you more about her and some of the fights she's already been in because, y'all, she's apparently a Rightside roughie. I need to get her a T-shirt. Y'all stay tuned. We're taking a break. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. All right, so by the way, Russell from Rural Route 1. There. Oh, I said it pretty well. Russell from Rural Route 1 says, as long as we're doing movie quotes, what movie and character did Tom Homan get his statement, I'm coming and bring hell with me? Well, I know the answer to that, but I didn't read the rest of your text. Phew, are you kidding me? That was Kirk Russell playing Wyatt Earp. Thank you very much. Tombstone. Yeah, perfect. All right, so I said a moment ago before the break, I told you about Laurel Libby, who's going to be on the show in a few minutes. She's a Maine state representative. Listen, the state of Maine right now is in hot water with the Trump administration. There's a reason why Trump called out the governor of Maine at that meeting. Because just recently, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has had to put written warnings of legal action against 3 states for refusing to comply with federal anti-discrimination laws about keeping boys out of women's sports. Those 3 states, California, Minnesota, and Maine. California, the home state of Kamala Harris. Minnesota, the home state of Tim Walz. Maine, the home state now of Janet Mills. But there is a resistance there. Don't think for a second that there's not conservatives in every state, because there are, and Laurel Libby being one. So yeah, story here I got on Fox. Dateline 2 days ago. Donald Trump recently directed the DOJ and the Education Department to prioritize enforcement actions against athletic associations that deny girls an equal opportunity to participate in sports by requiring them to compete against boys. Attorney General Bondi said, state athletic associations in Maine, California, and Minnesota have, quote, issued defiant statements saying they would continue requiring girls to compete against boys. She said Maine should be on notice that there's a Title IX investigation into the Maine Department of Education now. Wow. She said if these or other federal investigations show that the relevant Maine entities are indeed denying girls an equal opportunity by requiring them to compete against boys, the Department of Justice stands ready to take all appropriate action. And by the way, she follows up by saying, I don't really want to have to take legal action against states, but I will. And she said she only wants states and state entities just to comply with the law. And by the way, this is the law. It is the law of the land now. The law says Title IX, which it dates back to 1972. Title IX is the law of the land. Title IX is not to be interpreted loosely to include gender identity. Title IX is as to females, period. And all God's children know what that means, unless you're in Maine, California, and Minnesota, apparently. But I'll have you know this, too. There is action being taken on a national level. You may remember Alabama's own Senator Tommy Tuberville, who had all his years and career in coaching. If I'm not mistaken, didn't he also coach women's basketball early in his career as a coach, besides football? I think he did.
I believe so. I don't know what level, but yeah.
Well, the bottom line is this. Senator Tuberville has a bill that is called the Protect Women's Sports Act. And Senator John Thune, the majority leader, just announced that it will be coming up for a vote. I think today they're going to do what's called dropping a cloture petition on it. Cloture on the bill means it shuts down debate. And then we could have a final vote on the bill in the Senate as early as Monday. If that happens, the House already passed a version of it. If that happens and it passes out, then we could probably get those 2 bills in conference and maybe get it back out and actually take the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act into law. The president would sign it in a heartbeat. But yeah, that's your U.S. Senator, Alabama, Tommy Tuberville, who introduced the bill. And by the way, Senator Katie Britt's also one of the 36 co-sponsors on it. So nothing but good there. Now, this individual coming on here in a few minutes, State Representative Laurel Libby, just so you know, this is not her first go-round, all right? She's already been in a lawsuit to fight back against the same liberal entities, power brokers in Maine, trying to stifle people from being able to raise money for conservative causes. She's also, by the way, one of 7 legislators who in 2021 were stripped of their committee assignments because they dared to not wear a mask in the State House. And now she's in this fight, and she's willing to take censorship. And I'm telling you, we need more people like that. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. Coming up next, State Representative from Maine, Laurel Libby. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And, oh, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 here on what JP has decided we're going to call T-Bone Thursday.
And the ruffians.
And the ruffians are agreeing. All you right side ruffians out there. All right, hey, listen, I'm going to bring in an apparent right side ruffian from another state. So I've been talking the last little while about what's happening in Maine. And you may recall that the governor, Janet Mills, was called out by President Trump in a confab they had in D.C. because her state, the governor's state, Maine, is still pushing forward with the idea of transgenders in sports, totally violating what we know to be the law of Title IX, which has been in existence since 1972. That being said, the whole situation is blowing up because in the Maine House of Representatives, and y'all know I served in the Alabama State Senate, I get the whole processes of what has to be. There's rules, there's decorum, and then there's just jackassery. And what we're watching right now is some jackassery by the Democrat leadership of the Maine House of Representatives, who censured State Representative Laurel Libby for daring to call out transgenders competing against girls in sports. Let me quit talking. I want to welcome her to the show. She has a BS from Roberts Wesleyan University, a nursing degree. She's also a female athlete herself. I believe she ran cross country. She's a small business owner, has a design company, and she and her husband have 5 children, and she's a state representative from Maine. Laurel Libby, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Are you tired? Have you been making all the rounds?
I am certainly tired, but pleased to be able to continue to speak up for Maine girls.
Well, thank you for doing it. I don't know if you've seen it or not on social media. I said this morning that Laurel Libby's fight is our fight. I mean, this is you're fighting a good cause, but you're doing something that has ramifications that are bigger than your particular moment, really.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this fight is going on in multiple states, and I think we've seen that highlighted as this has unfolded. And one thing that I'm sure is not unique to Maine is that there's been kind of a denial on the left that this is happening and that girls are being displaced. But I don't think that can be denied anymore after all that's unfolded in the last couple weeks.
No, I don't think so. And I appreciate the fact that you're doing this and taking the heat. But let me back up and set the stage for this. You're being censured by the House, and by the way, it appeared that Republicans largely got your back. It was a 75-70 vote. I'm not aware of any Republicans voted against you. Did any Republicans vote against you on that censorship?
No, they did not. It was a party line vote. Republicans voted against it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That being said, you're being basically slammed because you merely posted something on your Facebook page. And am I not mistaken in saying this was a public event in which the kid who got the medal, the transgender boy, was standing on the dais having his picture made because he won an award, and then all
Correct.
you did was post the picture and say this is wrong. Am I correct?
Yeah, I actually didn't say this is wrong. I simply posted the facts that he had participated the year before as a boy and won 5th place at a regional meet, and then that he had participated this year as a girl and won the state championship.
This is just so messed up. How did it come to the attention? Did a member of the body complain about you? Did someone file an ethics violation complaint against you? How did it get to the attention of the Speaker of the House?
It got to the attention of the Speaker of the House pretty quickly. It certainly did go viral, and so I don't think he could have missed it. And so on Tuesday, the day after I made the post, I got a call from the Speaker. Well, first an email, to which I did not respond because the request was take down the post. And so he called me and requested that I take down the post. I asked him while I had him on the phone, if I were to take down the post, was he going to help me ensure that biological males could not play in female sports in Maine? And strangely, I couldn't get a commitment on that. So
Yeah.
we agreed to disagree, and I left my post up.
Well, good for you. This is a freedom of speech issue, in my opinion. I'm an attorney, and this is a freedom of speech issue. This is absolutely a constitutional issue. But one of the things that really galls me in all this too is part of the censorship is not just that you've been called out and reprimanded and made to stand in front of the dais and have him look down on you from the dais, and while he read out the grievances against you. But they've also said you're not even allowed to speak or vote. How can they deny an elected official the right to speak or vote on the House floor?
Well, that is an excellent question, and that is a question that I'm looking forward to digging further into, because I don't believe that Speaker Facto actually has the right, according to the Maine Constitution, to do that. And so I am looking into options for a remedy for this situation, because in the meantime, my constituents are left without a voice
That's
and
right.
a vote by a simple majority vote.
That's and to me that's part of what I don't know if you have any plans for litigation on this. In fact, you're welcome to tell me if you do. But I would see that as absolutely being a part of the litigation. Is that they're not only denying your voice, they're denying the voice of the thousands of people who voted to put you in place to speak for them.
Exactly. You know, and it's all the same. It's all the same thing, though. You know, it's silencing not just my voice, but the voice of Maine girls, and that's what this extreme agenda is trying to do: is silence Maine girls and to push them aside, push them out of the way, which is extraordinary considering the strides that women have made in the last decades and 100 years. Suddenly, everything's being flipped on its head, and
Yeah.
women have to step aside for men.
Yeah, and that makes no sense. The entire premise of Title IX was to level the playing field. No pun intended, but literally it was designed to level the playing field in the arena of education, which includes sports, and to ensure that there is nobody that is left with an inability to compete or to have an education or to provide resources for them. I mean, Title IX's been the law of the land since the 70s, and here we are. Well, so let me ask you this. I saw that Attorney General Pam Bondi has put 3 states on notice, one of which is Maine, that they risk federal funds, and they also risk potential litigation if they don't resolve these policies that you're standing up against. Is there any movement towards this going away? Are they going to change the policy?
Absolutely not. Governor Mills and the legislative Democrats are 100% dug in, bizarrely, with the 20% of folks who believe that biological males should be participating in girls' sports. So they're not going to back down. They've put themselves, kind of pigeonholed themselves at this point, and it would be too embarrassing, frankly. But also, they believe this ideology. So they're true believers, and they're dug in. I believe it will take action on the part of the Trump administration to make change in Maine and ensure that girls have a fair and level playing field in our state. Unfortunately, you know, it is it's bad for Maine in the short run and the long run, because Governor Mills intends to spend our tax dollars to fight for this policy that Mainers don't want, and that is going to prevent Maine from receiving critical education funds.
Well, I can't help but think that the tide of public sentiment is actually against them. I mean, I realize they're the ones who have been elected to the positions they're in, and they have the majority at the moment, although it's not that big of a majority. But by the way, am I correct? Did I see a video? Was Governor Mills dancing at a drag show where kids were present not long ago? Was that real?
The video is real. I don't know who was present or not present, but the video is definitely real. And, you know, I have to say right there, Maine is getting known for all the wrong reasons these past couple of weeks. It's really unfortunate. I do want to highlight, it is a wonderful state with lovely people and amazing scenery. And everyone should come visit in September. It's the best month. But getting known for, you know, whether it's Governor Mills' outbursts or dancing, or the fact that the liberal left are pushing for these extreme policies, it's not what we want to leave as an impression of our state.
No, you're totally right. And I've not had a chance to visit Maine myself, although it's been on my punch list. But I used to live in California, and I can tell you, I know for a fact that all of California is not San Francisco, and I know that literally all of Maine is not what's happening in the capital in Augusta. So, yeah, I get that, and I appreciate it. Listen, we got to take a quick break right now. If you don't mind, can you hold on during the break? We'll come back and we'll wrap this up. And I certainly appreciate your time. I know you got another studio you're trying to get to, but we'll wrap this up in just a minute. Is that okay?
You bet.
All right. We're with Maine State Representative Laurel Libby, who has made national waves by taking a localized stand against something that is wrong on a grand scale. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. All right, we're going back to the phones right now with State Representative from the state of Maine, Laurel Libby, who has been basically standing up for, standing up for common sense if you get down to it, but also standing up for women, for the girls of Maine, and really, I'd say for people outside the state of Maine by taking the stand. She has been now censured in front of the body of the state house and told she cannot even vote or speak on the House floor until such time as she's willing to make a public apology. There are layers of jackassery going on here, but Laurel Libby's on the phone right now. Representative Libby, I want to ask you. Now, you've been in the mix. I mean, you and I were both Club for Growth fellows, which means that I know that you've got really solid conservative bones. But you've been in the mix on things like you were in a lawsuit a few years ago, for fighting for basically freedom of speech. You were one of those who lost your committee assignments because you dared to not wear a mask during these draconian COVID restrictions we had, and now you got this going on. Do you just like a fight?
I sometimes the fight finds you.
Well, I asked that, tongue in cheek, but let me ask you this. With the last couple of minutes we got together, I tell my audience all the time that getting in the mix is sometimes what we have to do when it's things that are bigger than us and it's important. And I wonder if you got a message in that vein that you could say to people down here in the Southeast.
Yeah, this is a fight that's much bigger than Maine, and it's great that it is garnering the national attention that it is, because it needs to be addressed and stamped out anywhere that it exists. Biological males do not belong in female sports, and that ideology that is replacing women and diminishing their accomplishments and pushing them out, and then also telling them that they can't even be upset about it or they're a terrible human being. That just is unacceptable. And we cannot allow the next generation to grow up thinking that's truth. So it's incredibly important that we all speak up for girls and for truth.
Well, absolutely. And then, and I know you're also a mom. You got, if I saw it right, you have 5 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're watching Mom right now, and there's a life lesson in this.
Yeah, absolutely. They've learned a lot in the last 5 years or so, and the things that come out of their mouths sometimes surprise me. My second youngest gave me a lecture on inflation recently while playing Monopoly, I believe.
Raising them right. Well, listen, I got to ask you too. Sometimes the pushback gets a little crazy, have you had any concerns about your safety or people making threats that you've had to deal with? Because I know I did when I was in the Senate.
Yeah, we're certainly monitoring and making sure everybody's safe and taking whatever precautions are necessary. Well,
and I appreciate that. You don't have to give details, but just know this, that we're praying for you down here. And I said it earlier in the show, and I meant it when I said it, that I think your fight is really our fight. And I hope that sometime soon we're going to wind up seeing the state of Maine come back around, because the girls in Maine, you were an athlete yourself. Didn't you run cross country? Is that what I saw? I did. I will say this. I ran for the fun of it, not because I was an incredible runner, but it certainly was a wonderful experience. Well, nonetheless, you know what it means to compete, and absolutely. And young ladies deserve the same opportunity to compete without the concerns of having state records set and wrongfully set by people that aren't really supposed to be there. Absolutely. This is the long and short. It's not fair for biological males to participate in girls' sports. And I think that over the last 10 days, we've seen that Americans are pretty much in solid consensus about that, and that applies to Mainers as well. Well, it does. And listen, I know that I know that in the past that you've been unafraid to partner with some of the conservative special interest law firms who do good things on behalf of conservative policy. Do you anticipate there being any legal action here that you're going to be a part of?
Well, I think given the political dynamic in Maine, I think there are multiple issues going on currently in our state that need legal remedy, and I'm certainly exploring all options to ensure that my constituents' voices can still be heard in the State House.
Well, one of my listeners has already texted in and said you should run for governor, so there's that. How about that?
Thank you.
Well, listen, Laurel Libby, representative from the great state of Maine, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being in the fight. Thank you for being what down here we call a Rightside ruffian. And we want to stay posted on this, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right.
Today.
Have a great day. Take care.
You too.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think she's had a full day. I mean, she's been making the rounds, and the fact that we had a mutual connection is what was able to get her on the air here today. But I hope y'all benefited from that. Listen, that's somebody. I'm just listen. When I was in the state senate, I saw members of the body that would be actually charged with crimes. I mean, I know for a fact I can think of a DUI, I can think of a domestic case, I can think of things that happened, and there were actual criminal charges being pressed. And they still didn't lose their right to speak or vote until such time as there was a conviction and they could be removed. We're talking about somebody who had a Facebook post. That's called the First Amendment. But it's a Facebook post, and by the way, the lie that they're portraying here is that this Facebook post was taking advantage of minors by posting a minor's picture. Shut up. It was a public event where where the boy was standing there to get his picture taken because he was so proud of setting a girl state record as a boy. And you can't post that on Facebook? I guarantee if she'd posted on Facebook and congratulated him, she wouldn't be in this position right now. But she is, and she's doing it for more than just Maine. She's doing it for the United States of America. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the northern, or not the northern half, the southeast U.S. of A. I almost went back to the old script in my head. The southeast U.S. of A. Y'all don't talk about this show goes from Huntsville on back to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about all the way down to that prettiest little town on the plains called Auburn. And oh yes, big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. All right, I forgot to mention it again right before the break, but this is that time of the week. It's 3:30 on a Thursday afternoon. That means it's time for a round of butters and leads. Let me call the roll real quick and make sure they are there. Silky smooth voice coming in on clean feed. Butterman, are you there?
I am here, Phil.
You are indeed. Thank you very much. And then also turning to the north, the diva of conservatism. That would be Lee from Huntsville. How you doing? You there?
I'm good. I haven't had that moniker before. I like it.
It just happened. I don't know where that came from. All right, I pronounce it. We got a quorum. Hit me some whoop whoops. All right, Butters and Lee, here we go. You all know the deal. I ask a question. You give me your answers. First round, second round, you ask the questions. I try to give you answers. All right, so here's the deal. I just had State Representative Laurel Libby on from Maine. Great interview. Really appreciated her making time for us. She's fighting back against the idea of boys competing in girls' sports. Lee, I know you've been very active on this topic. So here's my question for you. What should happen to the states that are still holding out on boys being allowed to compete in girls' sports? I mean, should they lose all their funding? And if they did, aren't we going to watch that damage other people who weren't necessarily even trying to have these policies in place, but they're just caught in the middle? So give me your thoughts. What are the consequences? Lee, you first.
Yes, I think they have to lose their funding as an impetus to get these politicians out of office, because you can't refuse, federal law trumps state law, whether you like the law or not. We have, as conservatives, have been finding that out for 4 years, and now it's time for the Democrats to do a little fatboing. So, yes, I think these states and that smug, I will leave out the explicitive governor of Maine. Yeah, she deserves to get exactly what's coming to her. They're going to lose all the funds, and then the people will be so angry about it that will, recall her, vote her out of office, whatever. There has to be consequences, or it won't stop.
So in terms of the collateral damage, like schools that lose funding, that they wouldn't have supported this, but they're stuck with it because it's their governor. So you're saying nuke them all, let God sort them out.
I think you just have to.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Butterman, what do you think?
Well, so first, let me make it very clear that I think it's utterly ridiculous that we're even having this conversation in this day and age.
It's true.
So there's that. So I'm thinking through all of this and trying to figure out. So my first question is, why the heck do we have federal funds coming to states at all for education stuff? Because I assume that's what we're talking about, removing those funds, and especially like sports at, say, a high school level, which is, I think, the issue in Maine. And why should the federal government have anything to do with regulating sports at a state level for, particularly high school and below? So I don't know. I'm kind of like, well, let's just take all the funding away, especially after all that we're seeing with Doge and all that kind of stuff. So maybe let's have, that's a hard Band-Aid to rip off, because we've set up a lot of structure to the contrary, but maybe that's the conversation we need to be having.
I think that conversation is being had, and you got a great point. But I'll say they're gonna work on disbanding the Department of Education. But Title IX is the actual law, and it's not even an education law.
Right.
It is an education law, but it's not even a Department of Education prerogative. Title IX just exists, and it's supposed to be protecting women. The question is, how do these libs get away with deciding what a woman is when they know that's not what it is? What were you about to say, Lee?
I was just going to say, yeah, it's Title IX funds, and even if the Department of Education goes away, there's still going to be funding schools from the federal government with matching state funds. I mean, that's never going to stop. But my thing is that if you as a state are just going to thumb your nose. We were looking down the same barrel a year ago saying if these Title IX changes go through, our school systems are going to have to allow this nonsense, or we'll lose federal funding. So, it's the same deal. I'm just saying Title IX is Title IX. You're talking about, we were fighting against in court the changes that were being made, specifically adding a gender identity. These people are just, we've now reverted back to the original Title IX, and they're still trying to fight it, saying that their state laws having to do with civil rights, they're conflating the two again, and this is a popular thing, conflating civil rights with all these, trans rights, trans identity, and gender identity, and stuff like that. So I'm just saying, it's not going to work. Title IX is Title IX, as it's always been, and it needs to be honored. And it's a federal law. She can't, at state level, say we're going to follow something else. That's not how it works.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Why? And I hate to belabor it, but why are we just assuming that federal funds? Why does Alabama need funds from Georgia or from Maine or from any other state, which is what you're doing with federal funds? Why do we need those funds for our education system?
Well, and so you're getting into a broader issue there, yes, but the reality is, you'd be amazed at how much federal funding comes in for almost anything in the world at every state level. Medicaid, highway and roads and bridges, the National Guard, the military departments of each state. They're filled up with federal dollars, and the problem is not that the funds come, it's that they come with progressive agendas attached to them, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
Lots of strings.
Lots of strings. Got to move to the next question. We're out of time. This one's more localized. Governor Ivey. The Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs rewrite that changes the leadership and the board of the ADVA has been a really contentious issue, and it's gotten a lot of press. She fired the Admiral Kent Davis, who was in charge of the ADVA. There's some question about whether she even had the authority to fire him, but she did. Now she wants the whole thing redone so that she can appoint the next ADVA director. But what I saw happen last night is really a little bit new. So Governor Ivey has long been a member of the Republican Federation, or the Federation of Republican Women, and they always have a reception at the governor's mansion. And they come down, they spend a day in the legislature meeting all their state reps and everybody. And then yesterday they were due to have their reception, but the governor's office found out that they were not in favor of her ADVA rewrite bill, and her office canceled their long-standing reservation to have a reception at the governor's mansion, and they had to go find another venue at the last minute. Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth actually helped them find another venue. Your thoughts on this, and why is she being so doggedly in pursuit of this restructuring of the ADVA? So this time you first, Butters.
So what good is having a majority if you're all going to act like children? I don't understand. That's so childish to try and, to revoke. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I don't, quote unquote, know how things work down in Montgomery.
Oh no, you're not.
But that just sounds like such a petty, stupid move that's embarrassing for the state.
Yes.
It's embarrassing for Republicans. And I should hope that Governor Ivey's a little bit mortified. But yeah, I'm really kind of trying to understand this whole issue. I get the discussion of the correlation to the health, healthcare and the regulation of that. But I mean, veterans taking care of themselves, sort of, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. What veteran group is supporting this change in legislation? That's one of the big questions I've got. I haven't seen any.
We hear that the VFW upper leadership and one other are for it, but right now you got the Marine Corps League, the Military Officers Association, the VFW. I think they're all against it. Your thoughts on this, Lee? What are you thinking?
I think they should be able to have the leader that they choose. Just like I didn't like an appointment of the health officer of the state, I don't like this in that sense, because I think they should be able to. I tend to not like appointments on the whole, but I think I don't know. It seems to be personal with her, and she can, you rub her wrong. She seems to be, she can be a bit vindictive on, a lot of different things. There's some arm twisting and stuff. You saw that with gambling last year, and I don't know. I get the feeling that it was personal because it's kind of vague. And then I think when the board wouldn't fire him, that just set her and her staff probably just, they didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
And so it just, I don't know, the whole thing feels a bit personal, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the Alabama Federation of Republican Women, the AFRW, they're a mainstay in the party, and they've been active. And listen, she's a long-standing top figure among Republican women, and I feel like she just dissed on her own people, if you know what I'm saying. This wasn't like the Democrats wanted to have a night at the governor's mansion and she's a Republican. These are her peeps. These are the ones who supported her wholeheartedly throughout her political career. And she just dumped on them because they dared to have a viewpoint that differed from hers on something. It doesn't make any sense.
She's on her way out. What does she have now? Less than 2 years? Guess she didn't care anymore.
I guess. What, Butters?
So my thoughts on this, the correlation of the health care and managing the health care, that impacts all Alabamians. But for the VA, I mean, it only impacts the veterans. And what's kind of funny is all of these people that are involved in running it, I mean, they were all in charge of us to begin with when we were in uniform.
Yeah.
So I got some trust that, if they were admirals, generals, whatever it was, senior enlisted.
Yeah.
I trusted them with my life at one point. I'm good trusting them with. I just don't see what's the benefit here.
No, I completely agree. It does feel personal. It does feel petty. It does feel like there's a story behind it that we're not getting. I've even had Kent Davis on the show to talk about it. But last night, to me, the most evidentiary thing that I've seen thus far that this is a petty personal vendetta kind of thing is the very idea that she would cancel a reception for her own people, the Republican women of Alabama. All right, we got to take a break. We'll take the break. We'll come right back. We're with Butters and Lee. Go to round number 2. This is where they ask me questions, and I just wait with bated breath to find out what they're going to ask. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Man, saving the world one soundbite at a time. All right, going back to the phones with a round of Butters and Lee. First round's already over. Second round, they ask me questions and just like ping me as we go. All right, so Lee, you first. What question you got for me?
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about this guy, Damian McDaniel, charged in Birmingham. Literally a one-man crime spree. My question for you is, he's killed 11 people in over like a, I don't know, maybe a 2 or 3 year period, right?
Right.
And this is in Birmingham. He was the one who's been charged with that 5-point shooting. A lot of people know about that one. So this guy is, but he was found guilty in 2019 of a attempted murder of 2 people, and he was only 17 years old.
Yeah.
And he was given 15 years. They suspended 13 of them, and he'd been in jail for 2 years, so they just cut him. And my question for you is, with the House, I don't know about the Senate, voting for these cutting sentences and everything, I think we maybe need to be keeping people in jail instead of allowing literally mass murder crime sprees over a time period of a year and a half.
Yeah,
I think they're going in the wrong direction.
I agree, and I had a segment on the show the other day where I talked about that very thing. The idea that we're going to have a second chance bill right now that says that if you've got a 25 to life sentence with no parole, that you can actually appeal to have that reduced. Well, that's like an extra layer of appeal that wasn't there before. So all of a sudden, you've got murderers, violent criminals that are being given chances they never should have been getting. This guy should never been on the street. But no. there's a whole lot here to unpack. One of which is the judge who let him out is a known Democrat activist, like literally openly calls himself a Democrat activist. And this judge needs to be called on the carpet because there are 14 people he's killed, and the murder
11 people, but he injured in the 20s. I mean,
oh yeah, just 11, okay, but just 11. But the murder rate in Birmingham is one of the highest per capita in the nation. And
right.
Where's Randall Woodfin on this? He's nowhere. This is why Randall Woodfin has drawn another Democrat opponent. Wandalyn Gavan, who's a hoot herself. I mean, she's wow. But the reality is she's running against the idea of violent crime in Birmingham not being taken care of. It is her campaign platform right now. And so this has to get dealt with. And the legislature needs to quit screwing around with finding ways to empty the beds in the prisons and find ways to fill them. And if they got their act together and built the prisons that they've been talking about for years,
right.
Maybe we would have a little bit, safer streets in Birmingham. But anyway, Birmingham has got problems, and this guy is the poster child for it. So there. I got to go to Butters before I run out of time. Hey, Butterman, what question do you have for Mawa?
Firing generals.
Firing generals.
So I'm seeing
and admirals.
Former shipmates of mine that are actually a little upset about firing of the CNO.
Really?
That work with her in the Pentagon. That's just one voice. And then listening to some discussions from some former, particularly PJs, pararescuemen, on the firing of all the Air Force officers. That they seem pretty stoked. They didn't have much nice to say. What are you hearing? What are your thoughts on how all this is going down at the senior leadership?
Well, I got a couple of thoughts. Yeah, great question. And I know the Navy being your background, near and dear to your heart. So here's the bottom line, brother. You and I both know that by the time they reach flag rank at admiral or general, they have also earned retirement at that point. So they can go to the House and be fine. C.Q. Brown, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, has 4 stars on his shoulder in retirement with a great pension and could not have gone any further in his career. He was over. So he might as well go to the House anyway. But that being said, they all serve at the pleasure of the commander-in-chief. Every one of them are technically an at-will employee, if you will. They can be relieved of command. They can be removed from command. They can also be asked to resign, and they can be fired. And I think what they've been doing right now is cleaning house, and no one should be surprised because they said they were going to do it. And so listen, right now I don't mind. I mean, I haven't seen anybody go that I'm like heartbroken over. And I don't know the CNO. I'd heard the CNO was a decent person, but I heard she was also not a warfighter mentality. She was very much into DEI, and that one of her first directives was to say everybody in the Navy gets to stand around with their hands in their pockets. That was an actual directive from her office. So I look at it and go, what the heck? Get somebody in there who's going to bring some STRAC military bearing and all that back to the armed forces, and that may mean having to clean house because most of them got their stars during the Biden administration. Wow, is that the music? All right. Butters and Lee, love you both. Great questions. Man, I could go all day on both those questions. We will have them back again next week, as always, because they are important to what we do around Rightside. In the meantime, y'all know this. We are taking a break, and we're coming right back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international, and oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 3 on what is tentatively being called a T-Bone Thursday. You got that sound effect? So we have tentatively branded this T-Bone Thursday. I don't. Who had that idea? Was that you?
No, it was a texter. I cannot remember who initially said it. It's slipping my mind.
T-Bone Thursday. And so we have a draft sound effect for T-Bone Thursday, formerly known as Turbo Thursday. And we're going to play this for you, and you've got to tell us how you feel about this because we're still in flux as to whether we're going to make it permanent. Hit me some T-Bone.
T-bone steak.
For lunch?
Well, I am just a T-bone kind of guy.
Well, then we should call you T-Bone.
No, we shouldn't.
T-Bone!
Okay, it is funny. I will say that. We need to add something to it, like ending with some applause or laughter or laugh track or something on there. But the rough cut right now, y'all tell us on the text line what you think about T-Bone Thursday and the T-Bone sound effect.
Let us know. And be as honest as you will. I will not take it with hard feelings.
No, he listen, I have to get on him all the time for crying here in the studio. Not at all. Hey, by the way, I gotta do some cleanup on aisle 7 here. I overlooked something yesterday. This is not my way. I do not like to do this. And by the way, the person did not call me and tell me. I realized it today. Hit me like a brick. So one of our new sponsors is DeKalb MD, and DeKalb MD is the sponsor of the Grand Council on Wednesday afternoons, and I neglected to do their call out, and I want to make sure that I make that right, so I'm just going to do it right now. DeKalb MD, what am I talking about? This is a medical clinic. This is a medical clinic unlike most you would ever hear of. Think about this. This is a direct primary care network of clinics located in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and they operate on a monthly membership, not insurance. You pay $75, you get a monthly membership, and that means you get same-day or next-day scheduling with no wait, longer visits with your doctor, even after-hours access and like no additional cost for that, a direct phone number to call in. You can even have up to $1,000 worth of medications mailed directly to you. This is like being a gym membership, but it's your doctor, and you're not messing with co-pays and all of it. You just pay $75 a month, go see the doc. Now, it doesn't work for the things that you need, like emergency surgeries and that kind of stuff, obviously, but this is a big deal. And so they are very successful. DeKalb MD, they're based out of Fort Payne with also 2 locations in Chattanooga. So DeKalb MD, they work with you instead of your insurance, and they are a primary care with you in mind. If you want to find out more about them, here's their website. You ready? www.decabmd.com. Pretty easy. decabmd.com. You can schedule an appointment or find out more. And like I said, for our Chattanooga audience, there's 2 locations in Chattanooga. Check them out, and they are the sponsor every week of the Grand Council. Going to the text lines, y'all. Going to the text lines, because y'all been some texting machines while we've been doing this interview with State Representative Laurel Libby from Maine, as well as the Butters and Lee segment. Wayne from Faulkville says, keep it turbo, please. Oh, interesting.
We've had a mixed bag of reviews.
Mixed bag of reviews. You ought to keep a little list going, a checklist here.
Yeah, and then Jeremy Madison doesn't like T-Bone Thursday.
Oh, Jeremy from Madison says, I hate the sound effect and it being called T-Bone Thursday.
T-Bone Thursday, yeah.
Wow, Jeremy. All right. Paul from Decatur says, hey, Colonel, Paul in Decatur, on your question with Lee about prisons, crimes in Alabama, does the state have a Unicor factory like the federal system does? Everyone sentenced to a federal institution, you either work in the maintenance department or Unicor factory? Yes and no. We do have the ability for them to do work and gain a trade. In fact, I'll tell you right now, the carpentry there is actually pretty good, and we had all of the desks in the Senate chamber built by prison labor, and they did a great job at it. But my recollection is that a lot of that was put aside because liberals said that it was basically some kind of a unjust punishment to make them work. So they just sit and rot. Now, I could be wrong. Somebody knows something different, tell me. But my recollection is that chain gangs especially are gone, but that true work release on behalf of the state is not the same as what it used to be. They do have work release, but it's not this thing where you're sentenced to work, so to speak. Jeff from Athens says, I like T-Bone Thursday. It's much better than Tutti Frutti Tangerine Tofu Thursday. It could be Thirsty Thursday, though.
Interesting.
Just interesting. All right. Gary from Decatur says, judges that rule as activists should not only be removed from the bench, but held criminally responsible for any crimes related to their decisions. Very little consequences for their actions. These matters, in my opinion. Well, yeah, and so here's the thing, Gary, especially when they're elected, they come in with agendas. They come in as a party affiliate. And so you should already know kind of where they are. At the same time, judges can be reversed, and that's what we should go for, is reversal and appellate decisions that put them back in their place. Absent that, the only thing we can do is wait until either A, they have committed some type of crime or other good cause, not just the way they rule. At the bench, I've had judges that I disagreed with, and yet it was still their prerogative as judges. They have judicial discretion. If they are misinterpreting the law, if it's an abuse of discretion, if it's something where the law calls it plainly and palpably wrong, then we can deal with it on reversal, hopefully. Thomas Mathis says, I am not a fan of T-Bone Thursday. Oh, wow. He says, T-bones are too darn expensive for what you get and unable for my wife of 56 years to eat anyway. It's been years since we had one. Please try something else that will appeal to all right-siders. Wow. He brought the economy into it.
Passionate response.
That was rough. But Lisa from Huntsville says 2 thumbs up for T-Bone Thursday.
I think we're pulling him.
We are yeah.
Dang near 50%, I feel like. It's a toss-up.
Chris from Starrett, Alabama says, if the ADVA position is restructured, will Ivy or her successor then control the VA funds and or the programs? They won't control the funds, but they will control the person who controls the funds, if that makes sense. And they won't be able to just say, I want some of that money, give it over here. If it's earmarked, if it's designated, if it comes from a federal grant, if it's designed for veterans, it can't be used by roads and bridges or anything else. But if it's a state appropriation, then the legislature takes care of that. Once it's been appropriated, the governor has no choice but to see it spent where it was supposed to be spent. So I don't think she's after the money. I think she's after the control, and maybe she's after a little bit of payback. And then Thomas from Athens chimes in again and says, thankful Thursday. We have so much to be thankful for. I can live with that. That's a good piece. Bruce from Springville says, being a veteran here in Alabama, Kay Ivy's growing a little too much styrofoam upstairs, if you know what I mean. Wow. Shag Nasty the Atheist, Shag Nasty checking in saying, since Trump's letting Andrew Tate back in the country, I'm assuming he'll apologize to all the immigrants and asylum seekers he accused of being rapists and sex traffickers. Shag Nasty coming in from left field with something not even on the agenda.
I know you probably don't want to chase that rabbit, but I have quite the thoughts on that one.
We'll chase it another day. Chappie from Madison. I hadn't heard from Chappie in a while. Chappie says, I agree with Lee. All federal funding should be pulled, but then you have to weather the storm from Democrats talking about things like not being able to provide lunches for the underprivileged. It then becomes a game of what's right versus the entitled masses. You're right, man. It's hard to do it. I tell you what, I got about a minute and a half before we go to the break. I just saw I have a call on the line. Wolverine Dan. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Very well. So you want me to put my vote in on that Thursday?
Yeah.
What do you call it? Would it be a start of a bumper, or what do you call it?
T-Bone Thursday, a sound effect. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, here's the problem you're going to have, Phil.
Okay.
Is I think and I apologize in advance. The person that put that together
that would be JP, who's on the phone right now.
Well, JC, if you're listening, and I'm not doing this because JC told me to, but Phil, I think he needs a raise.
Oh,
wow.
Well, his name is JP, so now I can't, Phil, because you gave it to somebody else.
Good, Phil. It's that good. On a Thursday, that was really good. He needs a raise. So I'm sure next time I call, it's going to put me right through without even asking what I want to say. But with that said, listen, DEI, you name it, what they're doing. and I got a friend that I love the guy. He's a great friend. And he ges all paranoid when the left says, well, they're going to take your Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security and everything. Phil, here's the problem. You got to go to bed at night and lay your head on the pillow. And some of these politicians do not have a conscience, and they're just going to say whatever they can to get their little cash flow. Bottom line is that they're not going to take your Medicare or Medicaid away or your Social Security because everybody's paid into it. They're going to find some way, which if what they're doing now with Doge is going to pay the debt off, and they will have not only the money for Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, but we'll also have money for other things that are very good for the country. So don't panic, don't listen to that, and that's all. Here's the thing, Phil. That's all they have, Phil.
Yeah.
It's like a paper tiger. The Truman Show. They're doing the Truman Show on us every day. All right, and all I'm saying, Phil, is I'm not trying to be mean, okay? But damn it, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Please. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. We're all Americans. Do the right thing. Stop doing this stuff and being greedy, because the Christian way is to be sincere and honest and do the right thing for the people because we're Christians.
Fair enough. Thank you, Wolverine Dan. All that and a T-bone too,
Thank
brother.
you.
See you, man.
All right.
He's got good words. We're taking a break. By the way, I got to tell you, JP, Aunt Charlene's not a fan of T-Bone Thursday.
That's interesting. I figured she would be.
He's crestfallen, honey. He's crestfallen.
Wow.
We're getting mixed reviews on that one.
I know. It's
All
a
right.
diverse topic.
Is it T-Bone Thursday or ain't it? We'll talk about it more and get some more text messages. And I need some thoughts on you guys. I'll tell you about that in a minute, too. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Wendy from Moulton just checked in, said, I like Throwback Thursday. Maybe do a Remember When segment. Huh. By the way, Charlene also said she likes Thomas's from Athens. She likes his Thankful Thursday.
Also, I have to say, Thirsty Thursday is not a bad one either.
That one has all kind of connotations.
That one starts a slippery slope.
That doesn't. It just goes down places we I need to go.
Yeah.
Scott from Somerville says, is the Department of Corrections sentence in Alabama not given to as hard labor, i.e. 10 years hard labor? I don't think we do hard labor sentencing in Alabama. I don't recall that. Now, I don't practice criminal law as an attorney, but as a legislator, I don't recall ever seeing hard labor. I do recall that Governor Fob James tried to reinstitute chain gangs, making them work on the sides of the roads while they wore a ball and chain. And that was ruled unconstitutional, so it went away. The usual groups, the ACLU and all that sued. How mean can you be? Chain gangs, mean criminals. Jeff from Indiana says, hey, here you go, Phil, some actual turbo sounds, which I think what was missing before was a 600 horsepower turbo Mustang. Oh, it's a YouTube, so I can't play it right now, but oh no, you're getting all up in my dreams right now. JT Lacey Springs says, unless it's a landslide, turbo should remain. It's been a good show. There's some people don't like change around here.
I know. We still haven't heard yet from John and his anti-Seinfeld.
He's been rather quiet lately.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan from Athens says, come on now, it's got to be Thirsty Thursday. See, there's another one. Mm-hmm. We didn't ask for nominations. We asked for how you like this. Matt from Cherokee says, Phil tried to make a $25 donation to the Maine rep, but her website won't let you donate without forcing you to receive emails or texts. Okay. I grew very tired of this from a Trump's campaign. Then I also wanted to make a one-time donation. I probably, a million retirees would donate if we could opt out of the harassment of, listen, man, you're telling me things that I appreciate you, but I can't change her website. So thank you for trying, though. That's awesome that you did.
David Edwards on Facebook says Throwback Thursday. So add that
he
one.
Says Throwback Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow that appeals to me too.
We'll have to figure out how we do a sound effect of that.
I mean, we could have all kinds. Like if you listen, I listen to the 70s on 7 on Sirius Radio a lot, and they always have these little clips of sound that make you in your mind go back to the 70s, the 80s. For you, it'd be the 2000s.
Yeah, the early 2000s. Yep.
Yeah. We could have the jingles of commercials. We could have the audio. The mind is racing.
Mm-hmm.
Susan from Elkmont says she should tell them when she's ready to apologize. Talking about Laurel Libby from Maine. She should tell them when she's ready to apologize and say, LMAO, sorry you support folks that are confused, and I'm sorry you didn't support the safety of our girls. Yeah, really. That would be rather epic. Ruminating Rocker from Flint Creek says, Thoughtful Thursday. Thoughtful Thursday. The week has given us so much information to think about. We need a minute to ponder. You know, last night, I've been doing this thing on my social media now where I do the morning drive and sometimes even the afternoon drive. My thoughts on the morning drive, my thoughts on the afternoon drive. Last night, I was driving home. The weather was so perfect. The sun was setting. I was driving by the river. One of my favorite classic rock songs came on by Steve Winwood. And I just had the moment there where I didn't want any thoughts on the afternoon drive. And I actually recorded something where I said, sometimes I don't want thoughts on the afternoon drive. And just had.
Sometimes you just need no thoughts on a drive.
Just literally, yes.
Just between the lines and zoning out.
Just stay in the middle. Jerry from Decatur says, hey, Phil, how's this for an opening for Thursday? Use your sizzling sound effect, it's T-Bone Thursday, and Rightside Radio, both sizzling to perfection on your Thursday afternoon for conservative taste in politics. Oh, so good, folks. Here we go all the way. Jerry's even writing the script out.
He's already got the songs in mind.
I think Jerry's hungry. Robert from Athens says, Dear Colonel Phil, although I agree with you about no men and women's sports, I have no sympathy for the issue. Feminists sued the Boy Scouts into oblivion. They pushed their way into the U.S. Navy submarine service. They demanded reduced standards for West Point emission. They did everything possible to invade men's domains, including combat arms, like the Rangers and the Marines. It's rules for thee, but none for me. I don't care anymore. Robert from Athens. Okay, I hear you, and thanks. I saw that. Thank you very much. David from Huntsville says, didn't Title IX get changed under Obama to include gender identity? Under Biden, it did. It was under Biden. He tried to change it, and that was being done by interpretation by the Department of Education only. It wasn't going to be the force of law because Congress never got involved. So they tried to reimagine Title IX, and that's all there is to that. And it went away. All right. Listen, I got plenty of text messages. We're going to come right back in a minute, but I got to do something. I'm just going to open the floor on this. I got your input on Turbo Thursday. Here's what I want to do. Listen to me. I want to know what classic rock song best describes the new version of politics that we have. What classic rock song best describes the new version of politics we have going on right now? I'll start. How about Celebration? Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. You are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. Whew, goes from Huntsville all the way back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about literally from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean all the way down to that prettiest little town on the plains called Auburn. Even, oh, by the way, big old swatches of Georgia and Mississippi thrown in, just for good measure. I'm going to the phones momentarily, but I'll tell you, so I asked the question right before the break, what classic rock song best describes the current state of politics? Not the former, but the current state of politics that we have right now. And y'all are lighting it up right now. Jerry Lee from Huntsville says, You Shook Me All Night Long by Jerry from by AC/DC. Rusty from Huntsville says, The Boys Are Back in Town, and Another One Bites the Dust, and We Will Rock You. Nice. Bruce from Springville says, the classic rock song for today, Suspicious Minds by Elvis. That's good. John from Brownsboro, I can't drive 55. Okay. Jeff from Athens says, I Want to Celebrate by Rare Earth. Yes, that's what I said a minute ago. Dylan from Athens says, where are we? He says, I'm picking on you, Phil. I'm thirsty every day. Thirsty. Oh, he wants it Thirsty Thursday. He says, more winning. We can't stop now. What else? I had another one a minute ago. I saw it. Twisted Sister, We're Not Going to Take It Anymore. Gary from Decatur, BTOs, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. How about that? We'll get more of these. Pray tell, what classic rock song best describes your views on the current state of our politics? Let me go to the phones, though, real quick. Jeff Rowe from Indiana. How you doing, buddy?
It's got to be Judas Priest. You got another thing coming. That's right. Here's where the talking ends.
And now that one, my buddy George and I used to roam around South Huntsville with him blaring that in his Volkswagen. That was a good one. I could always hear him coming down the street, and it was that song.
And with the Volkswagen, he was just zipping down through there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had the coolest thing too. He had one of those. It was like a Volkswagen, kind of like a station wagon, but it was a fastback. I've only seen one, and it was his. Anyway, where are you at right now, man?
I'm about 20 miles south of the Gauntlet. Getting ready to get into it. You talk about Volkswagens. I went to school with a guy that had an old Volkswagen, the motor blowed up in it, put a Porsche engine in it, and that thing would move.
Oh, yeah. I've seen Volkswagens on the drag strip, and they do quite well. I've seen Volkswagens made into, off-roaders, but yeah. So, all right, let me ask you this. What did you think about my interview with the Maine representative, Laurel Libby, and what's going on with that?
Well, I think you may have interviewed the next Republican senator from Maine.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, either that or we need a new Republican governor of Maine. I know that.
Susan Collins comes up for re-election next year.
Oh,
so
that's right.
Yes, that's right. And with this behind her and on a state and local level, and if she gets some traction on this and these people come to their senses instead of being insane Maine, they might just – I think she should be primaried, and that sounds like the perfect person to do that.
Well, Susan Collins is almost to the point of doddering. I mean, she's still sharp. She hasn't fallen down on the floor of the Senate like Mitch McConnell, but she just strikes me as being way, way, way beyond her time, is what it feels like.
Well, that, and she's the illustrious Republican rhino. So
yeah. Never sure where she stands.
No, we could use they should be seen in the zoo, not in Congress.
But what do you think about Laurel Libby, though, literally being told as an elected official she's not allowed to speak or vote on the floor of the House until she publicly apologizes?
It kind of sounds like they're denying her civil rights to me.
I would agree.
Especially as a representative.
I think they're denying her constituents their rights also.
there should be some legal repercussions for this. I mean, I don't know if the United States government can get involved in something like that, but she's been taking away her right to represent these people and without cause.
Yeah, they have technically not just silenced her; they've silenced the voices of thousands of people she represents, and that to me. I mean, I can see where they might censure her and get away with it. I've seen that happen before, but it's really a slap on the wrist. But this is not a slap. This is punitive. This is called shutting her down, and it's just messed up. It's got to get fixed.
A censure doesn't, involve your ability to represent your people. That's just basically a slap, and we're telling you did wrong. But
yeah,
as far as that's like saying she can't do her job, and that what she was elected to do, and that's just not the way it's supposed to work.
Yep, totally agree. All right, man. Hey, listen, I got to leave it there and get a few text messages because the songs are rolling in. By the way, did you have a song? Oh, you did have a song. You told me that earlier.
Well, yeah, man. It's got to be Judas Priest, man. You got another thing coming because the man in charge now is telling everybody that.
Sweet. All right, brother. Be safe on the road. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one, buddy.
See you, man. The songs are pouring in. So I asked the question right before we went to the phones and before the last break. What classic rock song, best in your opinion, describes the current state of our politics? And you guys are like blowing it up right now. Thomas Mathens is back in there. He says the boys are back in town. Don't Stop Believing by Journey, Revolution by the Beatles, and All Right Now by Free. And oh, by the way, Don't Stop Believing by Fleetwood Mac. He went down the entire list of classic rock.
He had an opinion on that one.
He also had Running Down a Dream, Do You Believe in Magic, Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Spirit in the Sky, and so Thomas, you are indeed a classic rock fan.
All of those were perfect.
And they were good. James from Arab says the current state. Peaceful, Easy Feeling by the Eagles. Had Kamala won, it would have been Witchy Woman by the Eagles. Nice. Well played, sir.
By the way, David Edwards on the Facebook live stream said, Proud Mary Rolling on the River.
Oh,
for his song.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, any more on there, you let me know. Just jump on in. Matt from Cherokee says, taking care of business. There you go. Wanda from Somerville says, looks like we made it after all. Man, I'm going to be singing half these songs on the way home today. Joanna from Hartselle says, We Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who. That was good.
That was a good one.
That was good. We Won't Get Fooled Again. Shag Nasty the Atheist has got one. Shag Nasty says Pink Floyd's The Wall.
I think that was maybe a jab, even though I love that song.
But here's the thing, Shag Nasty, that could go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I know you think you're digging at conservatives, but no. We still love you, Shag Nasty. Roxanne from Harvest says Working Man by Rush. That's a good song, by the way. I dig some Rush. Now I'm thinking, what Rush song am I going to play on the way home with the windows down? Dustin from Hillsboro says, all the waste in government we're finding out about makes me think of the song Money for Nothing. Wow. A little Dire Straits kicking in right there. My gosh, this keeps going. Chris from Alabama says, Shake It Up by the Cars. That works. He also said, Boston, Don't Look Back. Man. Or maybe that, you know what? That Boston Don't Look Back was back in November. He said that.
So the last two times he's texted in has been when we've asked this question.
He only texts in on the classic rock songs. Nice to hear from you every 4 months. Thanks, Chris. All right, what else have I got here? Thomas Mathis still rigging them out. And then Shag Nasty the Atheist says Fortunate Son by Creedence. Okay, as to who? Is that a dig at Trump? I think it might be a dig at, I don't know, Biden, Hunter and all that. Britt from Athens says, welcome to the jungle. Woo! Mike from Florence says, the trucker, that'd be Jeff from Indiana, just reminded me of the song with the lyrics about Maine, Insane in the Maine Brain. Is that a song?
I guess it is. I've never heard it.
I've never heard that. Ian from Hartselle says Cocaine by Eric Clapton. And then Bob from Madison says, hey, Phil, what about Don't Fear the Reaper? That's fair.
It's a great song, by the way.
That's fair. Spence from Harvest says, okay, Spence, this is actually one of my favorites. I love the riff on this song. You need to find this. Everyone's a Winner by Hot Chocolate. This has the best guitar riff. I actually, just the other day, Spence from Harvest, you nailed it, man. I need Spence to have some applause for that one because that Everyone's a Winner by Hot Chocolate. Yes. So Hot Chocolate may be a one-hit wonder. I'm not even sure, but they had this song came out in the '70s, and I don't know if we can play it without with FCC violations being attached to us. But it's got an epic guitar riff in it. Are you playing it? Are you about to play it?
I mean, I find it. I gotta get it ready to go. But yeah, I got it.
You know what? During the break, you're gonna find it. Don Henley, "Dirty Laundry." Yeah, the Epstein list came out today, so "Dirty Laundry" is definitely there. Tim from Madison says it's "Insane in the Membrane" by Cypress Hill. That's what the song was. And then Thomas from Athens again says "Sunshine of Your Love," but all right-siders are cognizant of that oldie. He says, "Nice, well played, sir." All right, listen, we're going to be moving towards a break here momentarily. I will tell you this, though. You want to keep texting them in, we'll take them. What classic rock song do you believe best describes our current state of politics? Y'all are still texting, even while I'm watching the texts are popping in.
By the way, I got the song right. I don't know if you want to go out with it or not, but
if you got it, let's play it, and I'll tell you when to hit the button to go, baby, go. All right? There it is. Everyone's a winner, baby. Just digging it. Half of y'all are going to put that on your playlist today. Everyone's a winner by Hot Chocolate. Take it to a break, brother. Take it to a break. Nice. All right, what am I going to talk about when we come back? I got a few minutes to. That tweet is still blowing up. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower. All right, so I got a few more of these text messages about songs that are, you guys are amazing. Thomas from Athens again. He says, Ramble On and Do It Again by Steely Dan. And he can't stop. He said, I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. Ray, that was Roy from Hartselle says, the EV Mustang is, why are we talking about Mustangs? I love Mustangs. That's mine. Anyway, thank you very much.
He ended it with Freebird, by the way.
He did it with Freebird. Thank you very much. Stephen from Athens says, Thin Lizzy's The Boys Are Back in Town. Yeah. And then Tom with All the Kids says, Thunderstruck. But he also says the best guitar solo is Cliffs of Dover. That is a good one. David from Danville says, Jimmy Cliff's I Can See Clearly Now. Birch from New Hope, We Are the Champions. John from Huntsville says, the following people get a solid A. Here's the grades. The following people get a solid A for their solid performances. Jeff from Indiana, Butters, and Lee from Huntsville, which means today's co-winners are Phil and Laurel Libby and the magnificent JP. Congratulations, John Paul from Huntsville. We love you, John. Thank you very much. So let me just say real quickly something we'll probably wind up covering tomorrow. I'll wait and see how it develops a little more. There's a story out. You may have seen it. Breaking news is that the Epstein files have been released, sort of. What we're discovering right now is the Epstein files in terms of what was actually given to the Attorney General. Wow. So I'm watching to see how this is going to play out. But what happened was people put in for a request to get a copy of it. The AG's office actually made binders. They all came walking out of the AG's office with their binders, members of the media. A lot of them are podcasters and people with online media. And they all got binders saying Epstein files, I think it said edition 1.
Phase 1.
Phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it and go, why phase 1? Because apparently what happened is this. Attorney General Pam Bondi said she had the Epstein files. Well, now we find out she has what apparently was given to her when there's more. So the FBI was told to deliver the files to Bondi. They did, about 200 pages. But what I'm reading right now is that Attorney General Bondi smelled a rat. Said there was nothing juicy, is what is being described here. There's nothing juicy in the 200 pages. Just flight logs and a Rolodex of phone numbers, no smoking gun. So she smelled a rat, but she had promised to release the documents, so she prepared binders of what she had. But then, apparently last night, we're learning that a whistleblower contacted Bondi and revealed that the SDNY, which is the Southern District of New York, which I'm assuming, I don't know if that's the state Attorney's General Office or U.S. Attorney's Office, or if that's the actual FBI. All I'm saying is the Southern District of New York deceived Bondi, Cash, and all of us by withholding thousands of pages, including video evidence and other things, tangible physical evidence of disgusting things that are not being let out. And they basically, Attorney General Bondi wrote a letter to Cash Patel, said, go get those documents and get them now. And she wants them by when? Was it, you read it to me earlier?
8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
8 a.m. tomorrow morning. They better pull that box out of the archives and bring it on over.
And she said she wants an investigation and a report on her desk in 14 days about why she wasn't giving all the files in the first place.
Good for her. Good for her.
So this is what the delay was. A lot of people were, wondering if they were backtracking. Nope, it was the FBI not complying, and also there's a lot of work that goes into hiding the victims' names and such.
Yeah, that was big. That was a huge deal.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say that this was not Pam Bondi's fault, that there was a little bit of a delay on getting them out.
But I think it's about to be somebody's fault, and we're going to find out who, probably after they lose their job.
By the way, we should have applied to get a binder. I would have gone up to D.C. to get one of the Epstein files.
Nice. Nice. I get to see you sitting on the plane, flying back, and the person sitting next to you goes, hey, what you reading?
The Epstein.
The Epstein files. Is that a book? Oh, no.
The Epstein.
It's nonfiction. Thank you very much. Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, so, yeah, we'll develop that story. It's playing out in real time right now. That tweet that I was kind of summarizing for you a moment ago came out literally in the last 45 minutes. Those files were just released around midday today before I went on the air. And this is a developing story, but it has unbelievable ramifications. There's a lot of people who apparently are freaking out and do not want their names released. Now, what I am curious about is what's in what was sent out in the 200 pages. Is it just benign? Is it nothing to it? Is there really just like nothing to see here? I doubt it. You can't have this much secretive stuff. You can't have this much panic. You can't have this much smoke and there not be a fire. So we're gonna watch this play out. I suspect that we'll hear more tonight and tomorrow. If it's a story that's developed to the point that I can give it some good ground, we'll talk about it in more detail. But right now, Pam Bondi releasing what she has on the Epstein files, and it's about freaking time. She's also, by the way, got the files on Martin Luther King's assassination and on JFK's assassination.
And RFK's, I think, was
and RFK's.
Yep.
And that was a promise that I believe that RFK Jr. got Donald Trump to make.
Yep. And I just hope that when we get these, it's not going to be declassified with just a bunch of redacted stuff in there. And it's like, oh, we declassified it, but all the stuff's redacted. You know, I hope, obviously, what needs to be redacted, like the victims' names and such, will be redacted. But I mean, it better not just be a thing for show. I hope it actually exposes, you know, some stuff that needs exposed. Which, I mean, a lot of the Epstein stuff has been, but there's still a lot that hasn't been. And clearly, if they're not giving Pam Bondi a bunch of documents, then clearly they're hiding something. And there was also rumors that FBI people were destroying some evidence. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, it's a mess.
If they are, then check their bank accounts and see what they've got.
Yeah, I mean, there was a report that some FBI people were caught destroying servers of stuff. So I don't know if Epstein's stuff was in with that. But yeah, it's looks like the rats are leaving the sinking ship with this one.
Clean the house. That's what I'm saying. Clean the house. Tim from Madison says, can people just start calling those numbers on the list right now that they have? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they've got. Bruce from Springville on the music says Purple Haze. Oh, okay. Luann from Huntsville says Hold On, I'm Coming by Sam and Dave. Clay from Madison said the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want.
What would yours be? What would yours be?
I started off with Celebration.
Oh, that's right.
But I also I'd love the idea of BTO's You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, because I think we're just getting started, man.
Somebody said mine of No More Tears by Ozzy Osbourne. I think that's a great one.
Wow. Wow. As long as it's not Crazy Train with Ozzy Osbourne. All right, listen, you guys, what an amazing show. You guys are an amazing audience. We love being with you. You're the reason why we jump on the air every day and do this. Do not forget, there's more of us than there are of them. God is still on his throne. Y'all stay in the fight. We'll see you tomorrow.